We reaffirmed our readiness to consider all requests from our friends in Mozambique regarding the strengthening of their defense capabilities and counter-terrorism capacity building. We appreciate Mozambique's objective and responsible position on the Ukrainian issue at the United Nations, as well as its refusal to support blatantly Russophobic, biased resolutions aimed at favoring and supporting the actions of the neo-Nazi regime in Kiev. Europe has become furious. I cannot think of another word to describe it. They are displaying global arrogance towards the Russian Federation. In every possible way, they are inciting their people, indoctrinating them with Goebbels-esque propaganda that Russia is an eternal enemy and an existential threat. They are telling their people that Russia is about to attack Europe and that they should forget about social problems, economic failures, and deindustrialization in Germany and other European countries. They are telling their people to throw all their forces, all means and taxes exclusively into militarization of Europe. It is sad. The lessons of history should not be forgotten. But it seems that the current generations of Germans, French people, and other Europeans have learnt them poorly. When the descendants of those Germans, having occupied leading posts in the modern FRG, regardless of their origin, they begin not just to promote, but to proudly make claims to everyone in the spirit of the Fourth Reich. This, of course, suggests that such a revival of Nazism cannot be allowed. And I am convinced that the peoples of European countries, including an adequate part of the German people, understand this perfectly well. And any attempts that German defense ministers are now threatening us with, saying that they will be ready to kill Russian soldiers, the statement by NATO leaders that they are about to preemptively crush the Kaliningrad region. This probably sends a very alarming signal to any normal person about what plans are brewing in Brussels, in Berlin, and in Paris and London, of course. So the reason for this strategy is impunity, the constant incitement of the Kiev regime to carry out provocations, terrorist acts against civilian objects and peaceful citizens of Russia. These actions will not stop, and of course, they will receive a worthy response. Russia will achieve all the goals that the EU is trying to block by using the Kiev regime. I sincerely hope that the sensible approach demonstrated by the Trump administration in this situation, after it replaced the Biden administration, which was in lockstep with the frenzied Europeans, that this sensible approach, which includes a willingness to engage in dialogue, a willingness to listen and hear, will not go unnoticed by Europeans, despite all the current discussions about the need to repeatedly arm the Kiev regime at the expense of European taxpayers. These mechanisms have been functioning for a long time. They improve and relate primarily to the increasing use of national currencies. But not only that, there are other mechanisms that do not depend on the whims of those who would like to make economic sanctions the main tool of their foreign policy in order to maintain their hegemony in the world. It won't work just because the history course is going in a completely different direction, in the direction of multipolarity, of equality, in the direction of the principles set out in the UN Charter that the West has never honored. Now it's time to comply with the current reality. Yes, this process will take some time, and the West will resist. Now, the tools that the West uses in the international arena, illegal sanctions, protectionism, seizure of people's property, rejection of presumption of innocence, are all being tested, as I said, by the history course. Sure, you can struggle with history, but in the end it will prevail.
We need the Russian private sector in Mozambique. And we are already negotiating with some companies so that they can enter the Mozambican market. As for the Ukrainian crisis, it is certainly a very unpleasant situation. But we see that Russia is a country that has withstood all sanctions, all obstacles, and is trying to resolve the Ukrainian conflict through dialogue. Mr. Minister Sergei Lavrov told me that the next round of Russian-Ukrainian talks is planned, and I hope that it will be successful for both countries.